Hello everybody, TERESA WOODARD from Corpus Christi. This is going to be the site of the watch party for Governor Greg Abbott tonight on primary election day. You can see quite a bit of media setting up. This venue just opened up, and then I wanted to give you a look behind. This is the stage where we will hear from the governor tonight. You can see a Texas flag and off in the distance the battleship that's here in Corpus Christi. He certainly picked a nice looking venue for the backdrop for what he is expecting to be a victory speech tonight.
I'm Tiffany Liu in Dallas, monitoring the Texas Attorney General Democratic primary. There are 5 candidates in this race, and according to the polls at the University of Texas, Austin, Rochelle Garza, a former lawyer for the ACLU, is the choice of 41% of voters. Former Galveston Mayor Joe Jaworski at 24%, civil rights attorney Lee Merritt polling at 15%, former Harris County Judge Mike Fields at 11%, and S. T-Bone Rayner at 6%. Now, if no candidate reaches over 50% of votes, it will lead to a runoff. Of course, we're going to keep a close eye on those numbers for you tonight.
Hey all, it's Morgan Young. I am in Fort Worth, downtown Fort Worth at the Flying Saucer. This is where Beto O'Rourke will hold his election night watch party. You can see we've got the media set up here. Some people are already doing some live shots. I've kind of created a little office here for myself. But I wanted to talk really quickly. We're going to get into this at 6, but wanted to talk about us being in Fort Worth as opposed to El Paso. We were totally prepared to be in El Paso. And when the campaign mentioned that they were going to be here, they mentioned that Tarrant County is a key battleground. And it is, and it has been, specifically for Beto as a candidate. When you think about that Senate race back in 2018, you'll remember that Beto actually beat Senator Ted Cruz in Tarrant County that night. Not by a lot. The margin there was 0.69, just more than 4,000 votes. But that was a big deal then, and it continues to be a big deal now. And then in 2020, 2 years later, President Joe Biden beat former President Trump in Tarrant County. Again, by an even slimmer margin there, less than 2,000 votes, just about 2,000 votes. But that's been a really, really big deal because Tarrant County, the 3rd largest in the state of Texas by population, and historically red. So this shift to these really big Democratic victories has been something that a lot of people are paying attention to, and something that Beto's campaign has certainly been paying attention to. So we're here tonight for that reason. It's kind of symbolism. It is, hopeful foreshadowing in this case, and we're expecting him to get here in a few hours after polls close. He was in Houston over the weekend. He was in Austin yesterday night. He was voting in El Paso this morning, and we're expecting him to get here about 7:30, 7:45 to hear him talk then.
The Attorney General is hosting a watch party alongside his wife, State Senator Angela Paxton. And the big question is, will the AG get to 50% of the vote, which will avoid a runoff in May? He's got a number of big name opponents, including George P. Bush, the outgoing land commissioner, who is obviously from the presidential family. Also, Eva Guzman, a Houston Republican who sat on the Texas Supreme Court, and Louis Gohmert, an outgoing congressman from the Tyler area. And one thing to point out is that a couple of polls, one from the University of Texas, showed that Paxton was polling about 47%. A University of Houston poll showed him at about 44%. So will he get to that 50% number to avoid a runoff in May? We'll get that answer tonight. We'll be here at his watch party.
Voter turnout has been steady here at this library off Ardelia Road in Northeast Dallas. We caught up with Democratic candidate Elizabeth Frizzell, who's running for district attorney. She is facing incumbent John Creuzot. Now, whoever wins in this primary will face the Republican candidate Faith Johnson, who is running unopposed. Johnson was unseated in the last election by Creuzot. Now, Creuzot says that this race will not be tight. He says his policies speak for themselves. He says he has stood up for people who have been disenfranchised by the criminal justice system and also held police officers accountable, and he thinks voters will return him to office.
Hi everybody, we're at the Como Community Center in Fort Worth where you see signs galore. Do you know who you're voting for yet? We're tracking the Tarrant County Judge race primary election here in Tarrant County, and we've spent the day going around different polling locations talking to voters. We talked with voters in Southlake. Now we're in the south side of Fort Worth talking to voters about what they're passionate about and what they're hoping that the next judge of Tarrant County will bring to this community. I'll tell you, we're hearing totally different things from different sides, the values that people care about. But we're seeing people here earlier in the day pretty long line here at the Como Community Center. It's pretty much shortened, which is good to see that people are getting in and out. But we've talked with several of the candidates. There are 5 Republicans in the race and 2 Democrats. So we talked with Deborah Peoples on the Democratic side. We talked with Tim O'Hare on the Republican side. And we are going to head to former Fort Worth Mayor Betsy Price's watch party tonight. So look for updates there. I'll be tweeting. We will be on digital WFAA, just following this hot race closely.
I'm FERNANDEZ, and tonight I'll be following the Texas Democratic primary for U.S. House District 30. That's the seat that has been held by U.S. Congresswoman Eddie Bernice Johnson for nearly 30 years. Right now, there are 9 candidates in that particular contest, all of them fighting for as many votes as they can. Strategists believe that contest will end in a runoff. We'll be waiting and watching to see what happens tonight.